All right. Well, thank you all for coming to the meeting. So this is the Advancing Main Street Board at President Forums. It's really an opportunity to connect, increase your effectiveness with your program in the district, help you to connect to the other helps with the connection. And so we are recording, as you can see. And if you have any questions, feel free to use chat, but you can also use the hand raise feature. Please do. We want you to talk and participate and um, generally enjoy this meeting. So what we're looking at doing today is a little bit of an icebreaker, of course. We'll do some announcements following that. And then our topic today is tracking and communicating progress. You know, you guys are really working hard to make some impacts within the district, and we will talk a little bit about how do you know when you're being successful. So as usual, you know, embrace curiosity, ask lots of questions. We're all figuring it out. We're all different stages of leadership and program development. So please also keep in mind that, you know, we have lots of others in the room. And so if you're making time to talk, be mindful of how long that is so you can make space for others. And then just stay connected after this. We've got the list of the other board presidents that I'll share with you following the meeting. And feel free to reach out to any of those folks if you have questions. So we don't have the full team here though, but this is the Virginia. Blair is here, wave Blair. Zachary's here. But everybody else is on the road or on vacation. It's that time of year, you know? And I'm Kyle Meyer with the Virginia Department of Housing and Community Development. So I think what we want to do here, and we've got a nice size group, so this should be pretty swift. Share your name, where you're joining from, and you know, quickly tell us, how do you know when your local program is successful? You know, what are those meaningful outcomes? So how do you know when you're being successful with all of your initiatives, meeting that mission accomplishment? So is anybody feeling like they want to go first? Anyone? Anyone? Jessica? I'm happy to point at you in this exercise here.
Okay, so I'm Jessica Sawyers and I represent Stanton, the SDDA. Um, I think an accomplishment was one thing when we were at the in Boston for the conference, and we would talk to other people and tell them where we're from, and they said, "Oh yeah, we looked at what you guys are doing." And I think for Greg and I, that was a huge acknowledgement when people would say that they knew who we were because they are, interested in how we're doing things and what we're doing.
That's excellent. Absolutely. Building awareness for sure. Adrian, since you're sort of next in my gallery here.
Sure. So Adrian Joseph, and I'm from Gloucester, Virginia. And if people don't know where that is, we're the fourth corner of what is known as the historic triangle, but we'd like to be at a historic square. We're working on that. So we are the home of Pocahontas and the daffodil capital of the U.S. And I would say we know our local Main Street program is successful partially because of how many dollars we've leveraged. So that would be for our facade and interior grant program. And we see those are dollar for dollar matches, but then often and most frequently, those businesses are actually investing a lot more than the dollar to dollar match. So that's one thing. And during COVID, we launched something called Downtown Dollars, and we put in a 30% stimulus in that. And that was a roaring success. And it really helped keep businesses alive during COVID. And those are two obvious ones. What I would love to get feedback on is, I've mentioned this to Kyle, but maybe somebody else has an idea of business performance survey. So a performance survey for our Main Street organizations that would that the businesses that are part of our organizations or who benefit from our organizations tell us how we're doing. And if anyone has a good survey, I would love to get it. And also, I would like to get some feedback on board satisfaction surveys. So the people who give their time to our boards, how can we see that they're fulfilling their mission as they see it, and or how can we help them do that better?
Those are good, Adrienne. The first two are wonderful to hear because you're really looking at some quantitative aspects here. You know, your return on investment with your grant program, but also looking at that same ratio, similar ratio with your contribution to the downtown dollars. So that's something easily you can communicate on your percentage of investment and the kind of return and economic impacts within the district. So that's good. And even the performance survey, of course, that's where you're reaching out. Hey, how are we doing? Are we being successful? So we can talk about that and love to hear some input from folks at another point. So thank you for pointing those out, and I'll make sure that doesn't get lost in the shuffle. EG, you're next on my screen. So how do you know when your local Main Street program is successful? Any specific outcomes?
Got it. Hello, everybody. Good morning. My name's E.G. Allen. I am the board chair of the Downtown Ashland Association. I think we probably would measure the success by, not to be too kind of obvious about this, but attendance at our marquee events, which are all centered around the train tracks right in downtown Ashland. Signature event really is called Ashland Train Day. Huge this year, helped by one of the most gorgeous days in the month of April. I think over 10,000 people. The second indicator we will find out this evening. We have an annual event called the Toast of Ashland, where we say thanks to all of our sponsors. It's been fairly well attended in the past, so if it's well attended tonight, then we know we'll have had another successful year.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, definitely counting your attendees at these events. And even Virginia Tourism Corporation has a nice little analysis tool to estimate the economic impact of every single one of those guests in your downtown. And you can use numbers like that in your reporting. That's great, EG. And by the way, I'll see you all tonight. I am coming to the Taste of Downtown event.
Great.
I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, yeah. Let's see, who's next on the list? I'm just going to go through the list at this point. John. Oh yeah, Adrienne, go for it.
Could you send us the link to the analysis tool from the Virginia Tourism Office so that we can have a look at that?
Yeah. Can you note that in the notes, Blair? And I'll make sure I get to that. Okay. All right, John Harvey, how are you today?
I am well. Hope everyone else is. So
Yeah.
So I'm with the brand new historic downtown Tappahannock. We just had a name change and a relaunch, but I'll get to that in just a minute. But some of the ways that we look that we're doing well. Certainly, we just went through the funding we're funded in part by the town of Tappahannock and then also the county, Essex County. So that's one of the biggest things to see if you're doing well, because they're not going to fund you if you're not doing well. So we did get funding again, and this is actually going into, I think, our 4th or 5th year. Very pleased, and that's a great thing. Also, the media coverage. I mean, I know the media, when you're in the news with that and they find that interesting, that's certainly good, whether it's the newspaper or digital, et cetera. Some of the results, it's neat for us. We're starting to see some of the more physical results. We just had our third Thursdays this last week. We had Good Shot Judy there, probably just shy of 1,000 people down at the River Park. Was also awesome with our signature event there. And great news with our town. They just finished last month rolling out their master plan. So we're really positioned to do well here. And just wanted to shout out, if you've not used Consociate Media, they did a great job of rebranding us, and definitely would love for y'all to come take a look online at our website. I think it's certainly first class there.
John, I got to check that out. I haven't seen it yet, but congratulations for all the the new branding and new naming, that's fantastic. And you're right. When funders want to continue to fund you, clearly you're doing something right. So that is absolutely a good indicator. Thank you. Katie, as I know you're new to your role, is there anything you wanted to contribute? At least introduce yourself.
Sure. So I'm Katie Mooney. I'm the new chair for the yet to be named Winchester Main Street. And I feel like our we'll know that if we're successful if we get funded for our first full year from our local city council. That's kind of our big hurdle coming up. We're starting to have some meetings around that, but we're really excited to be moving in to become an official, separately standing Main Street nonprofit.
Yeah, Katie, thank you for coming, especially during this transition. So just to kind of frame things up, Winchester's program has been housed in their municipality, and it presented some challenges. So over the last few years, they've been incrementally moving it into one to the EDA, and now they're moving it into a nonprofit role, a traditional Main Street structure. So congratulations for all that. I think you'll find that it helps to really more easily get some impacts within the district. So that's great. Thank you, Katie. And Patsy, is this Patsy Cape Charles, Patsy? Are you having trouble unmuting? Unfortunately, I can't undo that. That has to be done by you, I believe. Yeah. I can mute you, but I can't unmute you. Well, we can come back around to you. How about Samantha?
Hi, this is Samantha Strom. I'm calling from Manassas. I want to preface this by saying we're still unlocking our potential. So as far as success, I think we have seen some successes in moving away from just kind of being an events planner and more aligning ourselves with the Main Street program as a whole, where events are a pillar, but not the only. But I would say that our events are still extremely successful. And yeah, I think that we should have more successes when we meet the next time.
Good. That's excellent, Samantha. Thank you so much. And then Scott? Scott, are you able to see the screen and unmute and participate?
All right. Hello, I'm Scott Lohman. I am joining from the Institute for Advanced Learning and Research in Danville, but I'm representing Alta Vista on Track. And on the quantitative side, our success, I guess, could be measured by the dollars that are invested in downtown and the number of businesses we affect. And on the qualitative type side, I think our stakeholders giving us positive feedback.
Yeah, you got it. You named a couple of really good ones. We're going to dive into some of those, not so much the qualitative in this particular our time together, but that's still very important. People listen. It's a bit of the storytelling to really connect with future advocates, existing advocates, whoever it might be. So that's a really powerful tool as well. And then thank you so much, Scott. And then I believe that Karen, you just joined from Farmville. So if you can see the screen, we're just doing some little icebreaker introductions of your name, where you're joining from, and how do you know when your local Main Street program is successful?
Hi, I'm Karen Caton from Farmville, Virginia. We have just gotten reaccredited this year, and we're working hard to move in a positive direction. All of our committees are functioning, and we feel like the committee's functioning and the community being engaged and invested shows that, we're making meaningful progress.
Good. Thank you so much, Karen. Yeah, during the pandemic, they made some organizational changes temporarily since they were met with some challenges, and now they're moving out of that and really opening up the organization again. So it's a little bit of a relaunch, a reboot, sort of a new life for the organization. I get that. That's good. Thank you. Is there anybody that I left out? I think I moved through the list, or somebody that wasn't able to talk because of connection. Patsy? No? All right. Well, let's go ahead and get through, move through some of this. I want to let you guys know, thank you so much for contributing that stuff. We've got some events coming up. In July, we have our webinar on strategy-driven programming. That's continuing our Switch to Six series for this year. The Switch to Six is the new standards, the Main Street America Community Accreditation Standards. So this is a really great tool in order to sort of measure how well you're doing as far as a measure that's based on best practices. So the National Main Street Center started off over the last 40 years with an accreditation standard, and now they've made some changes, brought it up to date, and condensed from 10 to 6. So we're talking about strategy-driven programming in July, and that's really looking at how both community input and market data can help you to pinpoint your strategy and then choose wisely the kinds of activities that you take on in order to meet your mission accomplishment. So that should be really great. We have Kathy LaPlante from the National Main Street Center speaking on that webinar. Then we're back to an in-person event in September. So this is part of the topic, the Switch to Six series, preservation-based economic development. So we're really looking at how do you use your historic assets in downtown, your buildings, the arts, your cultural representation as an economic development tool for your program. We'll be in 3 places. It's that half-day workshop. We'll start off in Galax on September 11th. Then we'll be in Blackstone on the 13th. And then very, very soon. The next board forum will be October 26th. So I'll get out the invitation a little sooner. And then we're back to the very last of this Switch to Six series, where we'll talk about demonstrated impact and results, which relates very much to what we're talking about today. So that's November 9th. And so these hyperlinks work if ever you want to register for something or check out the calendar which includes the President's Forum. That you can find that through these links. Also want to let you guys know that we're going to open this up. While this is a President's Forum and has been over the last few years, we're going to open this up to other board members. So I think that October, we're really looking at, hey, how do we get some of your other board members involved in this to learn? So we're looking at, hey, is this just going to be an invitation to your executive board or to the entire board? And your input is welcome on that. Not at this moment, but at some point as we figure out exactly what that's going to look like. Also, just want a heads up about some resources. So if any of you applied for our fiscal year 24 grant cycle, so we have a number of grants. We've reviewed them. We have finalized the briefing packet for the governor and everybody in between us and him. And so that's moving through all those different tiers, and hopefully anytime after July 1st, we'll make announcements about the awards. Sometimes most of the time we are at his mercy and his press schedule. So thank you so much for your patience around that. We want to get that great news out there as soon as possible. And remember, you've got design services. If ever you need to get to any of those documents, or you have a property owner that would like a facade drawing, they're thinking about investing, this is the link to design services, and there is a password to get into that. Also want to let you know that you guys are members of the Center for Nonprofit Excellence through our institutional membership. So definitely check those out for some of those deep dive best practices in nonprofits. And then nonprofitready.org is a philanthropic arm of a a tech company, and it's got a lot of additional resources, little modules for learning that are right at your fingertips. All right, I'm going to end that there, and let's go ahead and get into our topic for today. So I'm going to hand it over at this point to Zachary. Are you set? You ready to go, Zachary?
Yep, thanks. So before we, dive into some more information around communicating and tracking, progress with our guest speaker today, I just wanted to talk a little bit about monthly economic development data reporting as it directly correlates to that. So as most of you likely know, Virginia Main Street requires advancing Virginia Main Street programs to collect and report economic development data throughout the year, now on a monthly basis rather than quarterly. In addition to that switch, we have had communities start using CAMs to report this data so that the VMS team take advantage of DHCD Tableau software and not have to rely on a clunky Excel database to organize and analyze everything. And as a result, information provided to VMS will now be kept in one central place that's easily accessible to all of your communities, tabulated and reported out more efficiently to you. So with regard to what your local Main Street program should be tracking and reporting to VMS, we are looking for economic development data that correlates highly with the 4 points of the Main Street approach: organization, promotion, design, and economic vitality. And from the number of completed, private improvements and new business openings to housing units placed in service and volunteer hours contributed, this data will help you better tell your local revitalization story and help us as your state coordinating program showcase its impact across the state, highlight your successes, and advocate for increased funding to grow our programs. And even though it's a requirement not only by VMS but also Main Street America, it's bigger and more important than that. At the end of the day, this really is a method to effectively measure outcomes and impact at the local, state, and national level. And we, as we stress to your directors, really do appreciate all of your hard work and efforts to collect and report this valuable data. Next slide, Kyle. In terms of a report out, we wouldn't ask you to collect and report all of this data without giving something back to you in return. At the beginning of every year, usually in February or March, your program receives a report from Virginia Main Street that features reporting year stats as well as cumulative totals since your designation specifically for economic impacts that you've been tracking throughout the year. Apart from that, we normally include information around how your local budget compares to the total amount of public and private investment downtown for the past 5 years and the estimated market value of time contributed by volunteers. Given that we've retooled the monthly report via CAMs and adjusted what data collected, ultimately, there will likely be a few other additions and or tweaks made to this report, but a worthwhile report will be generated and provided to your program nonetheless. And to further assist you, the VMS program also includes a what the numbers mean section that quite simply breaks down each economic impact and or stat and explains what the numbers mean so that you can better communicate results to key stakeholders and build support for your downtown revitalization efforts. Next slide, Kyle. If your program does require assistance accessing or completing your monthly report, the VMS team has created and sent out instructions to all the directors, which includes a things to consider section, which features suggestions on how best to gather and report this data. This document will be updated from time to time, so keep that in mind. And we actually just made a few tweaks based on some feedback shared by AVMS programs a couple months ago at the director huddle. And apart from the instructions that we've prepared, you can always reach out to me directly or your VMS representative for help. While we can also provide technical assistance around using a check out the CAMS user guide, which is a self-service resource. And you can also contact the CAMS help desk if you encounter technical difficulties. That's something that we may not be the best at from time to time. But next slide, Kyle. So just to tee that up a little bit, to kind of let you know a little bit behind what Glenn will be talking about today, we want to welcome him and have as the board president of Culpeper Downtown Renaissance or Renaissance Inc. Talk more about tracking and communicating progress using this data. So Glenn, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, just didn't know if I was still muted. I had been a bit blocked. One of the things that we have done over this last year is we went to our main funding agent, the town, and asked them for a 25% increase in what they had been providing us, which was a significant amount in the budget. And we unfortunately made the mistake of following our normal procedure and sent them a nice big bundle of all sorts of data. Found out, in fact, we were data rich, but information poor. We were drips. And so they invited us to come back and talk to them and address the council in a separate meeting. And so we sat down and looked at each of the council members to understand their position of where we were and why we were there, and then tried to adapt their attitude and figure out what's in it for them or what's in it for me if I was them. Go ahead, Kyle, move forward. As I say, we went in for a funding request. The whole slide deck is available from Kyle after we're done. If you want to see it, I pulled the numbers out so that they're blanked out. Okay, if you'd move forward. We hadn't had an increase in our budget for 7 years. So we sat down and took a look at what happened to inflation over those 7 years and tried to present the information to the town that we had been very judicious with our funding that we'd been getting from them, but we certainly needed an increase for a number of reasons. Inflation, the kinds of programs we have, different kinds of events that were going on. Next slide. One of the things we did is took a look at COVID's impact on us for the last 3 years, starting in 2020. Our income in 2020 was down by $25,000, and yet the amount we invested in the downtown district was greater than $100,000. So they could see that indeed, even though we weren't getting a lot of funds in from our normal events, we were managing the funds that we had and getting grants and providing value to the town. Next slide. In fact, in this past year, we were able to provide the town with 181% return on investment. If you'll notice, one of the things we've done is stripped out a lot of unnecessary things and focused on big numbers that the town could understand. See the 181 there, plus 66,000, 66,000 volunteer hours. So, or $66,000 worth of volunteer hours, 2,200 hours that we had in this past year. Okay, next slide. As Zachary was just talking, there's some great statistics out there available from Virginia Main Street. And so we included those in our presentation to the town. And they were pretty amazed to see what the cumulative amount and what we've actually provided to the town in reinvestment. There were 3 members specifically of the board that were very skeptical, especially around finances. And so when we were able to provide them with these kinds of significant amounts of data, they changed their mind. We got 100% backing for our new budget. Next slide. most of our events are free events, so therefore we don't have tickets for them. The only two in this group that we do have is for the Gnarly Hops, or the Gnarly Block Party and the Hop and Hog events. Those are very conservative estimates. The picture you see there is actually our Halloween trick or treat. We get usually between 1,600 and 3,000 people just for that event. All of the merchants give out candy and the kids walk up and down the street. Okay, next slide. In addition, we partner with the town on certain projects. This sign of the love sign, and you can see the sidewalk on the side there. We had to redo the sidewalk to save several of those big, large trees, and the love whole area needed to be renovated. So we funded the whole amount of $53,000 to provide value to the town. And that was right before COVID hit. But we've benefited from that improvement significantly, the town has. Okay, next slide. One of the things we do is compile visitors to the town by a zip code survey. We don't ask for them to have spent anything. We're just getting this zip code numbers. Next slide. Talked about being data rich, information poor. This is the data rich. There's all sorts of numbers and ways of cutting it and displaying it and everything. But what I did in the presentation to the town, next slide, was information. We had 318 unique zip codes. Almost 1,100 people responded in the week of June 12th to 19th. And of that, 33% basically came from Culpeper, 33% came from surrounding towns, and 33% came from additional states and counties and countries outside of town. Now, we're just getting ready to run that same zip code survey starting next week, and we'll run it for a week, and we'll once again gather lots of data, but we'll also distill it down into simple information. And that's what we did for the town. The last slide that's not here, but the last slide in the deck that we had, if you get the whole deck, you'll see we ask for the amount that we were looking for to increase our budget. And as I say, because of the fact that we took the time to figure out what was in it for every single council member, we were able to tailor the presentation to those people and get 100% backing for our budget request. That's it. Kyle?
Glenn, thank you for that. And I think we got a little bit of echo there. So at this point, I'm just curious if there are any questions specifically for Glenn at this point.
I had a question. When you do your zip code survey, you say it lasts about a week. How are you doing the survey? Are there people out on the sidewalk who ask any passerby, or is it when you go into a store? How do you actually do it? You're muted.
Yeah, got to unmute, Glenn. Thank you.
We give every single merchant a sign-up sheet, and then they display it in a store. We have a little stand that says, please fill out our zip code survey. All we need is your zip code and the number of people in your party. So, you know, if you're from 20106 and there's 3 people, that's all you have to enter. You don't have to enter your name or anything else.
Any other questions? Well, thanks, Glenn. We're going to keep this topic going, and maybe something will come up as we start moving through some conversation here. But for everybody to chat here a little bit, how do you utilize the data to communicate progress and motivate further buy-in? So at this stage of your program development, what are some of the ways that you're using this data? Or maybe not this data, but any data. And really what we're talking about here is motivating further buy-in. from funders, from donations. What's working here to use data in general?
Another thing we do using the data is we have 4 third Thursday concerts, and because of the data and the number of people that are there and the types of businesses that are supported there, we get very good backing for each one of our events from the local merchants and businesses, and it's worked out very well.
Well, Glenn, you bring up a good question about audiences, right? And your council wants to see one thing, the return on the investment, and your businesses probably want to hear something else. What is it that is value that the business owners like to hear that kind of shows the value of Culpeper Renaissance?
Well, they like to see where their people are coming from. They like to understand how we'll tailor our projects to them. For instance, we do a lot of marketing on Facebook, all of those kinds of things. We keep we just opened a new website about 6 months ago where we keep all the businesses listed. We have our shopping and dining guide, which we print about 2,000 a month, which lists all of the restaurants, all of the businesses, all of the hotels, B&Bs, and breweries and such. And they also are very interested in the number of individuals that come downtown. For instance, our first Friday this year, we started closing Davis Street, which is our main street, for the first one. Found out that some of the merchants weren't real pleased because their foot traffic did not go up. Others were very pleased because it did. So we were able to change the targeting for this one coming up in the early July. We're only shut down one street, and then the merchants from off of Davis Street are able to come up and set up tents and things in that area.
Thank you. So what I'm hearing then is that it's really about that pipeline of customers, to your businesses. That's what they're going to find valuable generally. Adrian, do you have a question?
Yes, I did. It goes back to what I mentioned earlier. It sounds like you're really serving your businesses very well in Culpeper, but I was wondering, how do you get feedback from the businesses? Do you have surveys, or do you do this with individual businesses? How do you get the feedback?
We survey them regularly right after that event went. We also have an events person on staff who visits the businesses regularly, as well as our executive director. Our board, we have a very active board, and our members frequently go into businesses and individually poll the business owners or managers. We do that on a regular basis.
Could you share some of your surveys?
We can. I don't have them on my computer, but I can ask our executive director to do that. She's on an event today. We're having an event that we have a table at, we're participating in. So it will be next week, probably.
Thank
before
you so
that happens.
Be great.
How about anybody else? Any questions for Glenn, or how to utilize data to communicate progress and motivate further buy-in? Could be in messaging and storytelling. We can expand a little bit beyond this, but the point is about motivating involvement, funding, engagement in general. Jessica, you guys are doing really well in Stanton. Is there something you might be able to share with us about how you all do this to keep support of your municipality or even your donations flowing.
So, what I was thinking about is how he was talking about the events, and they get the feedback from the business owners. So one thing that we changed in Stanton was we used to have one night in November. I think it was the second Friday of November that kicked off our holiday shopping. What was called Sparkles and Sweets. I'm sure you all probably heard that. Well, we stopped doing that, and instead of that, we changed to 3 Saturdays in December, the 3 Saturdays leading up to Christmas. And we've made it this whole Santa Wonderland in downtown. And each Saturday, Santa is at a different place or whatever. But you're talking about the data and the feedback. So we contacted business owners to find out what did they feel like as one night opposed to 3 weekends, because one night you get rained out or it's too cold, people don't come out, and then the event's over with. That's the end of it, versus the 3 weekends, which also means as business owners, you kind of got to be ready to go all 3 weekends. So it's a bigger commitment, and you got to be ready to bounce. So when we were asking around everything, we found that they actually preferred the 3 weekends opposed to the one. And we also had not officially surveyed the community, but we would ask, people when they would come to the events, what did you prefer, that kind of thing. And another thing you were talking about blocking the streets off, we always have to, we always get a lot of feedback for that, because for us, our streets are blocked off from Friday at 5 o'clock until Sunday at 5. And even though it's only 3 blocks of Beverly, our Beverly is our main street where all our foot traffic is. So we get a lot of positive and negative from the business owners for that aspect, because of course the restaurants love her, because we do the dine out downtown. Restaurants love it, but some of the retailers don't like it, because then people who can't park on the main street have to park somewhere else to walk up. Sometimes they skip that weekend and come back another time. So I think it's important when you use the data and you're talking to your business owners, and really appreciate what they say and take into consideration their concerns, their worries, their praises, and all of that.
Absolutely, Jessica. And by the way, I want to tell you, I had a great time walking around downtown with the street being closed off. So they have these bollards that come up that can be removed, so that closes off the street to traffic. So it's not just cones. They've got these nice, what they're called bollards. And then it allows the business, the restaurants especially, to spill out and add additional seats. And so that you can see how that would be clearly help them out. Of the vendors did, or businesses did move out into the street. So you had sort of a little pseudo street festival environment going on, but it was great. And I could see how you absolutely would have to collect some level of data to show the, increase in expenditures, so the impact of this particular event, in order to get some of those naysayers on board, help them to understand how this is supporting them. Doesn't mean you don't listen to their complaints, because there's probably some improvements that can be made. But ultimately, that data about revenue increases because of this event is something that they would receive favorably. That's good, Jessica. That was a great example. Thank you.
Thank you.
How do you all anybody else use data to communicate your progress?
Hey, Kyle, this is EG. I'll share a couple things.
Thank you, EG.
I am not a social media person myself, which is probably bad, but our organization does a tremendous job. We are very fortunate to have a former board member who is now a employee of the town, and she is a social media person. So we have a real nice relationship, and both the town includes us in their regular social media, and we do the same. We send out regular emails called Talk of the Town that highlight both town events as well as our own association events. We also have this is done by our design committee. They will pick a business usually on a quarterly basis, and they'll call it You've Been Noticed. And that will be included both on social media as well as through these emails that go out. The businesses love that stuff, and they are very hyped into that. And then we do a quarterly business outreach where each board member is assigned either 3 or 4 businesses, and you are to meet with them, preferably face to face, and just talk to them about how things are going, what can we do, what are you happy with, what are you not happy with, and then that is reported back to the board at the end of that quarter.
EG, that's good. I think that what I'm hearing, and there is something that some of the other communities have done, is a bit of an ambassador program where you at least have a board member or a volunteer of some sort that is assigned to a particular block. They can help to maintain and flourish relationships with the business owners with that in that area. Jessica, I know that Stanton Downtown Development Association did that at one time. I don't know if you guys are still doing it, but that's an important way to gather information, but also to bolster positive relationships. Yeah.
We don't do that, the ambassador program anymore. We're trying to come up with an alternative thing. When we did it, it was great at first, but business owners, because most of the business owners know the director so well, most of them just went straight to the director. So by the time the ambassadors work their way around, they're like, oh, I've already talked to them over there at the offices. So we're trying to figure out a way to revamp that and make it a little bit better.
I get you. I could see that. Thank you so much.
Kyle, I had a question, if I may.
Yeah, sure.
You mentioned earlier about on Beverly Street dining out in downtown, and it was important for the data to show the increase in expenditure. How do you gather that data, and how do you get the businesses to cooperate in sharing their sales or their income?
Jessica, is that something you all do that's associated with this event? Because I know that some like extended hour campaigns that the other communities are doing, they make this part of the event, meaning their follow-up data that for those participating in it.
So I don't know if this is a blessing or curse, but most of our business owners are very open and verbal about things. So they let us know the good and the bad with these kind of things. But we do send surveys out every so often, for people to fill out and let us know. And then when the dine out season is over, then there'll be a increase. Was it better than last year? Did you do something different? That kind of thing.
Yeah, that's
so,
good.
I need to give kudos to Greg, because he has a great relationship with most of the business owners, and so they have no problem expressing all these things, including figures and all that, with him.
Yeah. And I think that it's also the use of this data, be very clear about how this data would be used. So it's not like you're going to be asking them for actual numbers. You might ask them more for a percentage, and then that percentage is included in an aggregate for the performance of all the downtown businesses or the participating businesses in general. They'll be more comfortable with that, of course. Yeah, that's good. Thank you. Those are really good questions. I love when you guys ask some challenging ones. Anything else that you all want to contribute to this who haven't yet spoken? About 11:53. Well, I don't think this is going to totally, we're just shifting the framing of the conversation a little bit and just sort of closing out our meeting at this point, or at least moving in that direction. So I'd love to hear from each of you, just a real quick snapshot of, so you get real quick 1 minute, but what trends and ideas are you seeing that excite you and are possibilities for your organization? Some things that you might change, some ideas that really help, presented a solution to a challenge that you're experiencing. So, what trends and ideas are you experiencing? So, let's move through the group a little bit here. Glenn, you unmuted, so I'm gonna I'll pick on you a little bit. Oh, now you got to mute.
Yeah. Yes, there's really two things that excite us right now. One is the possibility of the grants that are going to be sometime after the 1st of July awarded. We've got some significant issues in our pocket park that need to be addressed. We have a wall that's trying to collapse on itself and things. That is a lot of money to do. The other that it's just starting to bubbling up as an idea is to have a youth sort of board, because we hear so often from our people that say there's nothing in town for the kids to do. And so we're kicking around the idea of how do we create a board and get the interest from high school students to actually get a little experience and yet provide guidance to the main board to help us serve that niche audience better.
That's good, Glenn. I love that idea, and that helps out a lot with the sustainability of the organization. There's actually a really good issue of Main Street Now, which is the old publication. If you go using your membership and go into mainstreet.org, you can find all their publications, and there's an old one that's specifically about engaging youth, where you might find some helpful information about either justifying that or some of the unexpected outcomes from such an Scott, any 1 minute little wisdom bite here?
Yeah, so we're excited about, we're changing up an event that we've had the last 2 years that has not been successful. We had a barbecue festival that included a Kansas City barbecue component, but it was a lot of money going out of the door and a lot of volunteer time, and was not a lot coming back into Alta Vista on Track. There's also an adjacent park from downtown. So this year we've really revamped that, and we're moving it downtown, and we're getting buy-in from everyone that this is truly a fundraiser for Alta Vista on Track, and that money will be going back to downtown, and we're going to make poster boards to demonstrate that and really make an effort to communicate that mission of what we do downtown, and as well as make money to invest in downtown. So we're super excited about that. It's going to be smaller in all components, a lot less energy on our volunteers, but yet may make us 3 or 4 times the amount of money that the others did.
That's good. Sounds like you did a little evaluation there, or big one, if that you're really taking your mission and looking at your sustainability, your income potential, and making some adjustments to find that sweet spot. That's great, Scott. Thank you. Samantha, quick 1 minute wisdom bite. How about Mark Olson? Oh,
yeah.
So you got it. Oh, Samantha, you're there. Great.
No, this is Blair. I was just going to say Mark's here too from Manassas.
Okay. Well, so just anything from Manassas then in general about what trends and ideas you're seeing that excite you and are possibilities for your organization. That can be based on the conversations that we're just having, or something just in general that's happening in your district. Okay, we can circle back to you. How about Katie? Oh, okay.
I think we are in such a preliminary stage right now, despite having kind of an up and running many Main Street functions. But I think we're really excited about the public and private partnerships that we're going to be able to create now that we're going to be able to function outside of the city. So it's very broad, but that's what we're looking forward to.
It is. Yeah, no, that's good. Right on track. Thank you, Katie. How about you, John?
Yeah, we've got a lot of things started to tell you about it earlier. The new branding, the new name, the website. We also have the app that's coming out next month, which will have all the businesses, and it's all integrated together. So it's really going to put us way ahead as far as that goes. That town master plan, we finally know what the town wants, so we can start to align with them. And then we actually have a really revamped board of directors that comes in just a few days. And so we're really excited about the new board and what we're going to be able to accomplish with them. So some
John,
exciting things.
Yeah, man. And I need to circle back. And I think I need to come out there so I can dig in and hear a little bit more about those things. I am so excited about your master planning and what some of the recommendations that are coming out of that. But this new application, this new app serves a number of purposes, not only to promote downtown, but it also connects to promoting some of the real estate opportunities, if I remember correctly, or at least that was one of the concepts. So fantastic. Thank you, John. Jessica.
Okay, so I'm excited about two things. First of all, we have started talking about trying to bring a love sign into downtown. So hopefully in the next few years that'll be something. But I'm really excited about the SCDA bought a little truck, okay? And we are doing a lot of our promotings and things like that about the little truck. Like the little truck is going to be in our 4th of July parade. I'll decorate it. And everything circles back to, as you come into downtown, we actually rented a space and it's just called The Space. And every quarter we change the theme. So right now it's all about the Statlers and everything. But everything with the space and the truck, everything ties in together. And sometimes they'll drive the truck around town just to bring recognition to the SCDA's little truck. So, and the space, did you see the space while you were down there?
I did, and I love it. We were last summer, we were in town for a Virginia Main Street retreat. And I think that was the first sort of quarter of it being utilized. So yeah, really
we get a lot of positive feedback, and it's fun because it's on the corner. So we're going to continue doing that. So we've already got the contract down to have that space for another year. So we're really looking forward to bringing all that back in and give people something to see and talk about.
Thank you, Jessica. Yeah, boy, what a creative solution for an awkward retail space that is part of the parking garage. It's got glass on both sides, so it's got wonderful visibility, but it wasn't necessarily the best space to actually run a business. So what they conceived was using this to tell some stories, to promote some activities, to really push forward the impact of Stanton Downtown Development Association. So really smart use of that. And then I think that the little truck helps to, I guess, complement that in some ways. That's good. Thank you. Thank you for that. EG.
Yeah, I think I can speak to two items that are pretty exciting for us. The first is we've been working to raise money for something called the Mid-Atlantic Railroad Park with your help too, Kyle. Funds have over 99% been raised. The park is well into production stat, and we should have it, or at least parts of it, done this summer and be done for the fall, and actually have everything ready for the fall. That should be huge for train day next year. Thousands of folks roll into downtown. The second was one that I was not entirely in favor of until I saw it. Really isn't our project, but the Secretariat statue. When that rolled into downtown for about a month stay, and that's a project being spearheaded by the Ashland Museum and Randolph-Macon College. But the number of people that brought downtown was unbelievable over a month period. They've raised almost $600,000, again, completely independent of us, but we now see the writing on the wall, and we are going to do whatever we can to help, short of helping them raise any more money, because that's a lot of money. But if they raise, I think it's another 50,000, that statue will be permanently put in downtown Ashland sometime next year. And that will be a very meaningful lure to bringing people downtown.
So who is leading that effort? Because I don't think that has come across my ears. And good grief,
Yeah,
the amount of money that's been raised. Who is?
Yeah, you can talk about that this evening. In fact,
yeah.
I'm pretty sure that the remaining daughter is going to be at that event. That is Kate Shinnery. So she'll be at the event tonight. She's a wonderful person just to talk to. And I mean, I'm sure many people on this call might remember Secretariat. I certainly do. But the attention that has been given this year is only helping bring people into downtown. Again, we didn't take the lead with that because of the money that was called for, but
sure.
The folks who have raised money. The horse enthusiasts have a lot of money, and they're helping bring that into downtown. And no pun intended, we're going to ride that coattails right to bring people downtown.
That's good. Well, you have two really cool sort of cultural experiences that have emerged here. One is that, and I don't know where okay, good. That's good. Thank you for muting. One is the Mid-Atlantic Railroad. The fact that is a lot of time and investment has gone to creating experience in downtown, a park that meanders through downtown, little pathways with exhibits that tell the story of the rail history within downtown. So really, you're looking at some number of different ways that have been developed to spend time and money within downtown Ashland. So I know that's been a long time coming, EG, and so glad to see that really start to form and be done with it. Thank you.
Just a quick comment on the Preakness, this year's Preakness broadcast. They did about 3 or 4 minutes on that statue. And the lady that's sponsoring it was there. So it's gotten national recognition.
Very cool, Glenn. And for Ashland. Thank you. Karen, close out. There. Okay, how about Adrian?
Sorry. Oh,
okay.
Kyle, were you
go
looking
on.
for Karen?
Karen, go
Sorry.
for it. Pardon me.
I didn't have my mic on. I'm sorry. Sometimes
You're
in
good.
Farmville, we forget that we're a college community. And so our strategic planning brought about, more connection with the Longwood and Hampton Sydney. And so we are revitalizing a Rock the Block get together that Longwood started years ago, and hoping that, we can make a good connection with the college community through that. And that'll be in August when they get back.
Good. A town gown relationship. Good. And some of our other programs that have partnering universities, or at least a college nearby, do something similar. So that's great to hear, Karen. Good. And Patsy, did you unmute? Did you want to?
I did. I thought
Great.
you were.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go for it, Patsy.
So we are also working on a train themed thing. So we have we're a railroad town here in Cape Charles, and we wanted to preserve a piece of that history. So we're refurbishing an old train car, and we'll have storyboards around it to tell that history. And then just next to it will be a train station looking structure that will house public restrooms and a visitor center. So we're very excited about that, because we have not had a visitor center in the downtown area. So that's very exciting, and we're doing lots of fundraising around that. And yeah, people are excited about it. It's good to see the work getting done.
Absolutely. Thank you, Patsy. Yeah, and so they're, here being a beach town, lots of people walking around downtown, but no public restrooms. So even part of this refurbishment of an old train car they're also building public restrooms along with this welcome center. So it really it's going to provide some important assets to their local economy. So thank you for sharing that, Patsy. And then I think we'll end with Adrian. Anything you want to add?
Yes, so we are looking at our second corridor improvement. So we have 3 gateways to our downtown, and we have improved one, and we will start the improvements on the second one in October, which is very exciting. And we have 2 projects that we're looking at the moment, which is revamping our Main Street Center, which is our cash cow, as it were, because it provides the revenue to support our programs. And we're looking at both improving the exterior facade improvements, or our own facade improvement grant. And we're looking to infill, because we have very little available space on Main Street for businesses. So we might be able to create some at Main Street Center. So that's one exciting development. And the other is we are looking to relaunch the Gloucester Revolving Loan Fund to serve our businesses better by getting it more active.
Right on. This is good. Providing some incentives for your small businesses, improving the corridors into your district. Man, you guys have a lot going on. That's really great to hear. Thank you, Adrian. All right, y'all. Is there anybody else that want to say anything in closing at this point? But I think we're getting to the end. What I'll do is I'm going to package all this up and I'll share it with each of you, including a link to the recording. That probably is more beneficial to those who aren't able to join us today. But along with that will be the list of board president's contact information. So, you know, Adrian's looking for, you know, some sort of performance survey. And so if you have any good examples to share her or something you've done recently, feel free to send those to her. Otherwise, you know, thank you much for making time to be here today. We've got all your contact information here for each of the other program administrators, as well as for our division, Economic Development, Community Vitality. So they're all here to help you really embrace your economic opportunities locally. So please take a look at some of the other programs that we have within our division that complement Main Street really well. So other than that, I think we can adjourn.
Thank you.
We good
Y'all
to
have
go?
a good day.
Yeah,
Bye, thanks.
absolutely.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you all.